Why 12?
So if I wait for the item, which is yeah.
They connect for you, or you have to?
Okay, so let's why don't we get started? What we were learning yesterday was we saw the Rav Zilberstein talk about how a person can make restitution for public theft, even bisman hazeh. Okay, so we saw the different ways you can help build a mikveh, you can help build an eruv or contribute to the eruv. You can help build a bathroom, public washroom, public water fountain. Those are all good suggestions. So, then, we started this paragraph a couple of days ago, but I want to just look at it again. He says, "V'yesh harbe inyanim shel iser gezel she'anashim lo samim lev aleihem." There are many different kinds of theft that people just do inadvertently all the time without really paying attention. Kagon sheyeshnam anashim sheba'im lehitpalel beveit hakneset umat'inim et hamachshir haselulari shelahem b'sheka hachashmal shel beit hakneset below reshut. Like, just as an example, a guy walks into a shul, plugs in his cellular phone to charge. It's like maybe two pennies, 3 pennies, but he doesn't get permission, and he figures, well, it's okay, they're not going to mind. What if the Gaboim tell him, no, we don't want you to do this, and he does it anyway? And therefore, if you need to charge your phone, put some money in the pushka. Okay, v'chein b'nei adam sherotzim lefarsem dira o kol pirsum acher madbikim et hamodaot b'chedrei madrigot al hakirot v'garmim nezek l'siyud. And then you have people who want to publicize their own personal thing going on, and they take stickers of their ad and they stick them on private property, and they mess up the paint, and that causes damage. Osha samim,
no bills.
Yeah, Osha samim b'chalonot beit hakneset o ala kirot, or they place it on the windows of the shul, or on the walls of the shul. This causes damage. Osha madbikim moda'a al moda'a shehidbiku kodem lachein begarbim nezek labal hamoda'a harishana. Here's another form of damage. Let's say a guy has placed a post, a bill, an ad on a wall, and then another guy comes along and places his ad on top of the other guy's ad. So he's caused the first guy damage by stealing his spot.
Can you steal from a stealer? Yeah.
Well, who knows? Maybe the first guy had permission. But there is no heter. Just because the first guy's a goslin, you have no heter to steal.
Is that like politicians, they put their poster on top of the competitors' poster?
Yeah, that's not right. That's not right.
And they want us to trust them.
Yeah, v'chein yesh lahakpid shekol hamitzdaref lemo adon lekuchot. That anyone who's going to be joining to an advertisement, shemaknu lo hatavos v'hanachos miyuchados v'haba'olam makpidim shakartisu ishi v'lo nitan lahavara. And let's say there is a policy. Let's say, what is a mo'adon lekuchot? It's a hold on a second. Yeah, like a purchasing club, like a Costco or a Sam's Club or something like that. And v'haba'olim makpidim shakartisu ishi v'lo nitan lahavara. and the store says this card is not transferable. You can't give this card to your friend. You can't give the card to a friend to use if the store's policy is
Right.
you're not supposed to.
Costco was majorly cracking down on that.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was a huge thing. I think they're going to photo ID because it was rampant. People were just distributing cards.
So Costco's policy is you're not supposed to share your card with somebody else, is that?
Well, they have that photograph.
They're moving towards, I don't know whether they fully
Well, they have it on the credit cards. They have a photograph.
on the credit cards, right?
Okay, so that would be a form of gezel, right?
Yeah.
Do we understand? That's the point that he's trying to say.
Those other things with the Netflix where it's only supposed to be for that house and then they give the code to family members who live in other homes and they're using it when they weren't supposed to. It was supposed to be a single family
Yeah,
thing.
well, I'm
They're
not sure.
cracking down on that too.
So-
It's their policy to say only you can use it and then you give the code to somebody else to use. It's the same.
Right, right.
kind of
If you don't have permission to give the code to somebody else, that's a form of
Yeah.
gezel. V'chein mishu, oh,
But
I mean,
it's your-
let's also-
It's your password for your house. Like Netflix doesn't give you a password for them.
I don't know. I don't have Netflix. All I know is they were cracking down on it.
I know, I was using my son's Netflix
Password share.
up until recently, which was perfectly legal, but then apparently they made it difficult, and so I can't use it anymore.
Right.
But here's another example, which I don't know if he's going to talk about. What about downloading copyrighted stuff
Right.
that you haven't paid
Or
for?
taking pictures off the internet and using it for whatever purpose, like some sort of
It's
commercial.
all the copyright and.
Anything that's
trademarks.
copyright, yeah, yeah. V'chein mishu hu oved b'kupat cholim v'yesh lo hanacha al rechishat hatrufot shekoneh. Let's say you work in a hospital, and so the hospital gives its employees a discount on certain maybe medications, like over-the-counter medications. Asur lo liknot et hatrufot b'hanacha l'mi shelo chaver b'kupat cholim. And you decide, I'll buy stuff for my friends. He says the hospital doesn't give you permission to do that.
Right.
So in other words, people are guilty of taking liberties all the time. But I mean, the difference is if you buy it for yourself and you happen to have leftover, then you would be allowed to give it to a friend. But if a guy says, hey, you work at the hospital, I need some antihistamine, can you pick some up for me? I know you get a 30% discount, right? And what if
During a major clearance.
yeah,
So that's
Temper the joke.
That's
I'm
very
sorry,
fine
it's
line.
just a
But What
line.
about somebody, what if somebody knows you have a Costco card and they see that there's a special on something they want from Costco, they ask you to go and buy it for them? Why do
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's perfectly.
What's different with the person buying? I mean, it'd be different if you bought the
I
drug
think,
at a
yeah.
discount and made some money on it by selling to his friend. That's a different story.
Yeah,
But if all you're doing is
I think-
buying and
I think it
transferring-
depends on the policy of the store, If maybe the hospital says, their policy is, it's only supposed to be for personal use.
Or taking soaps or shampoos from that stores and take them home.
I don't think the
that-
hotel
I think
cares about that.
That's covered, they expect to replace that.
They
by-
expect you to put in one bottle a day, not like you take six, you ask the lady who's pushing the cart in the hall, I've seen this. And they say, I just take a few more.
I suppose, but compared to the cost
If you did-
per night of the room.
I'm getting some good tips.
It's a little bit insignificant to a $300 a night hotel thing of shampoo, but I don't know.
What I usually do is I take, they have these
The robes,
plastic,
the robes.
the plastic laundry bags that are hanging.
Right.
Yeah.
I take those. for
I
my
use
washing.
those all the time.
I put my washing.
But that I think is perfectly fine. I mean, I
That's
think
what
that
they
they
mean.
expect you to.
That's what they mean. Just don't take the robe. Yeah, the robe.
That's
the
right.
slippers, the robe,
Towels.
The slippers you can take, because the slippers are disposable.
Yeah, because they are disposable, the robes are beautiful, some of the
Yeah.
robes.
Depends on what you tell the staff.
There's pictures of certain people, they're stealers. That is a lot.
All right. Okay, so anyway, would anyone else like to offer some examples of of theft that they've seen other people do? Yeah, all right,
It could be as simple as picking up a pen and using it right without asking the person's permission to use the pen.
it could be, right,
Just you use pen without permission.
okay,
I mean, it's no different from it's similar to the taking the power for charging the phone. It's not a big cost, but you can
Right.
actually ask for that.
right, true. Okay. Next, so we're actually moving over to the next packet. I believe, did I send it out already? Yeah, okay. Ve'im hanigzal kfar niftar, yachzer es hagzela liyorshav. Now, another important halacha, let me just make sure I haven't skipped anything. This is daf shin yud, and the previous one is daf shin tes. Yeah, so, okay. So let's say you've stolen from someone, but they're no longer in this world. How do you make restitution? So the Gemara says you have to make restitution to their heirs. Because of b'shut haradbaz, the afal pishlo hechser lenigzal atzmo, mikol makom kevin shahayore shukara de avuha. He says that even though you're not returning the stolen item to the person that you stole from, but since a child is considered to be an extension of their parent, it is tantamount to having legitimately returned it.
As the joke goes, you can't just leave a check at the cemetery.
Right. That's right. Drop it in, yeah. The im hagazlan niftar,
Not negotiable.
kasav Rabbeinu Chaim Palaji besifra Ruach Chaim. Now, Reb Chaim Palaji, who's a very prominent Sephardi posek, he writes, "Im hagazlan ratza lahachzir mashigazal lifnei sheniftar v'lo hispik lahachzir ad shemes." He says, let's say the gazlan was trying to do tshuva, had every intention of returning the item, and then before he had a chance, the fellow passed away. Vadai im yachziru hayorshim es hagzela yiyeh to'eles leniftar ba'olam haba. So, in other words, I'm sorry. Here we're talking about if a person stole and the gazlan passes away, the person who stole passes away, he notifies his children, there's something in my estate that I feel very bad that I have. I'm not supposed to have it. I really took it illegitimately and I want it to be returned. If the heirs of the gazlan return it, then he'll be credited in Olam Haba. Vafilim haya lo haya b'daitu lahachzir es hagezel v'niftar im kol zeh hadavar mo'il im yashivu habanim es hagzela. He says, and even if he never expressed to his kids that he felt bad about it being stolen, but the children know that it's stolen property, it is beneficial for them to return the stolen item.
So they can take all the robes back to the sheriffs.
I
They
guess,
find in the closet.
right.
As long as you know which one they belong.
That's
But
right.
It's money. We're talking about money and it goes to your.
Yeah.
Kids are bequeathed to pay the money back, and if there's no inheritance, so the kids still, I thought the individual was always responsible. Why? If you're putting a
So
punishment
he doesn't say that they're chayav. He says that it benefits the niftar in the next world, which is interesting. It's an interesting language. In other words, he's not saying that there's a halachic obligation. He's saying that if you want to give a zuchus to your parents, to their neshama, that's what you should do.
Yeah, we're busy giving tzedakah and married off. This is a direct way
Right.
to help.
Yeah, that's true. Ubir zos al pima shekosef b'shut shev Yaakov, da'afal pi shelo haya daitu lahachzir, mikol makom yiyeh toeles leniftar kevin shahanigzal moichelo, ba'al yedei zeh yoelo shelo ye'anesh lefachos keneged achet shechata ben adam lechavero yu'uyusha. He says this is even true about a remorseless gazlan. In other words, during his lifetime, he didn't see anything wrong with stealing the hotel robes, right? And so he stole a bunch of hotel robes, or whatever it was, he took someone else's property, and he never had remorse. But by returning the item to the person who was stolen from, they're at least benefiting the neshama of the gazlan. He may not have done tshuva for it, but at least the Ben Adam L'Chavero was repaired.
Right.
There's still a Ben Adam L'Makom that he's going to have to face retribution for in the Olam HaEmes, in the next world. But at least the Ben Adam L'Chavero aspect he won't have to face.
Now, presuming the world to come, he now knows that he should have done that.
Right, right.
And now it can be done by his heirs.
Right, but it's too late for the tshuva between him and Hashem. But at least this is one way of partially fixing it. Asher al ken yesh lahakbid b'chol advarim ha'ila she'amarnu v'yizke lebracha v'hatzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yadav. And therefore, yeah, he's speaking to the Gazlan. You should try to be makbid in all of these things that I've mentioned, and you will have the merit of bracha and hatzlacha in all of your efforts. B'chol tefilotav yitkablu b'ratzon, and may all of your prayers be accepted by God. Okay, so he's really offering this as advice to a person who wants to do tshuva for the ill-gotten gains that he has in his possession. You know, and we all know that there are many inadvertent things that happen over the course of time. You know, any other things that you can think of, seriously, that, you know, people do that they shouldn't do?
That's an open question.
Oh, okay.
All
right.
What about a so-called cheat on taxes?
Or, yeah, or in business. I mean, businesses.
Taxes is a big deal.
Yeah.
Taxes is a big deal. It's something that we've spoken a lot about before. And we all know that there are very, very devout Jews who have this blind spot.
For me, Chris, I put my wife on my payroll, you know, so she worked it up. So I asked Shaila, can I put my wife on my payroll? And Rob said yes.
As long as what you're doing is reasonable amount.
Well, the Revenue Canada describes what a reasonable amount is.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, because she helps, does she help my business directly? No, indirectly, yes, she cooks for me. She helps me in my business. So she makes me that I'm able to work.
She covers
So
the other side of the
Rob
house.
says, yes, you can put her on.
Yeah,
Really?
I think there is a logic behind it, but I don't know tax law well enough to advise
Well,
you.
I don't tax law well enough to know that Revenue Canada allows it, as long as okay, it's not blind eye, but I'm saying that a lot of people do it. And they don't go after that. If you go above a certain amount, a certain line, your income, then you're after for sure.
Uh-huh.
You gotta keep a fleet of vehicles for his family. That's how they look at that.
It's probably just below the threshold of enforcement. as
You put
opposed to-
everyone's family, you put the phones through the business, you put the cards through the business, the gas, you put the insurance for your whole, for all your kids.
Nice thing about it, and being an employee is you don't have those temptations. 'Cause when you're
I
an
think,
employee,
I
you don't
think,
have-
right, I think
But
that,
it's what you have to take from Truda, that's a thing. Teaching wisdom.
So I would just suggest that, first of all, when it comes to tax law, I believe that it's like speeding. If you know that, for example, that the speed limit is 100 kilometers per hour, but that the police will give a grace up to 120,
119.
119,
Not on the 470, more seems to be more 130.
Usually it's, one, my understanding is 1 kilometer per hour below the limit, or below the 20 over. So
They have,
go 119, you're good.
Yeah.
120, they can stop.
they have a band of accuracy on their guns, on their radars. And so you have to be within that percentage for them to be able to say, yes, you're over that. And that is the 20%, which is, that's where you get punched. Travel on the 407 these days, they can do.
So go one below, that's the stuff.
119, no intention.
okay.
Would you categorize, speeding as the same thing as being? Like, I
It's
wouldn't
not, it's
categorize
not
it.
stealing, but it's a violation of Dina de
Well, Dina
Malchusa
Malchusa,
Dina,
right? So,
right?
But
And
so
so-
jaywalking is also,
Yeah.
Dina Malchusa, that's also.
Rolling through
Oh.
stops.
I mean, but it's not an accepted, we talk about culture, things in culture, it's not as
Right, right. If it's known that the government turns a blind eye to an activity that is technically illegal, then I don't believe that it's forbidden for a Jew to engage in that behavior. But if the government says we don't turn a blind eye to this activity, this is something that we expect people to pay their taxes, and there's a certain honor system, but we can't afford to go after every single person. So then that's different. And it's so I think that when it comes to laws like this, it's not so clear, how far can you stretch it? That I don't know.
That goes against halacha. So for instance, slaughtering meat, if it comes up as a ban on shechita, and it's against the government, and you start doing your own shechita in your backyard in order to have, is that being like we're getting malchusa?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a violation of Dina de Malchusa. And it's
So was it, because I thought if the government made a law that stopped you from practicing.
But well, the government will allow for imported meat. You're not prevented from observing your religion just because you can't get a fresh piece of beef.
What was circumcision?
That's a problem if you're living under a government that has legislated religious persecution, and that you can't. So then there are circumstances where it would be legal. There's a guy in Ireland who was a moil in Ireland from England who's in jail. But apparently it's not because he did a bris on a Jewish kid. The government doesn't allow, if you're not a physician, to do a circumcision on non-Jewish kids for non-ritual purposes. And that's where he got caught. Yeah.
Get a non-ritual on a non-Jewish.
Yeah.
Or tell Lobby to stay here.
And he's not a doctor.
He's not a doctor. Right. If you're a physician, it's perfectly fine. Okay. Let's start the next tshuva. Achzaras tashlum l'mishenichnas l'mikvah b'li l'shalim. A guy walked into the mikvah, didn't pay for the mikvah. So, nichnasti l'mikvah b'meshech shana l'lo tashlum v'achshav chazarti b'tshuva. So I was using the mikvah this whole past year without paying. And now I want to become a Baal Tshuva.
Why is he going to the mikvah? The first place.
And that's the point.
It was a cheap
Just because a guy goes to the mikvah doesn't mean that he's totally a from yid, right? And that's such an important principle. Guys they talk the talk so many times, and it's sometimes a guy maybe he does. There's a part of him that feels that he needs to go to the mikvah. People do things for religious reasons all the time. Some people have OCD and they feel I need to go to the mikvah, but I'm not going to pay for it,
OCDs, sometimes you don't want to go and some
Yeah. Anyway, vani rotza lahachzu lemikvah ma shani chayav. And I'd like to return the money to the mikvah.
Yeah, I can remember with sons in the Tanya, they have all the hundreds of towels lined up outside. You just grab a towel, like hundreds of towels.
Okay. Kama alay l'shalem. How much do I have to pay? Kimechir manui shenati shehu zol yoter. So can I pay what it would have cost if I had gotten an annual membership? O shani chayav l'shalem al kol knisa uchnisa shenichnasti kifi shemishalmim b'chnisa chad pa'amit. So the guy basically says, I've been using the mikvah for a year without paying. The mikvah charges, let's say, $120 a year if you pay one time at the beginning of the year. I didn't do that. I also did, and they charge $10 each time you use the mikvah. So which amount should I pay? Should I pay the $120? Or do I have to pay for, let's say I went in every Friday and I use the mikveh, so maybe I have to pay, $520. Okay, so which one do I have to pay? Okay, that's an interesting shaila. Again, probably someone who's got OCD or whatever, but he wants to do tshuva. So Hagemara omeretz legabe misha gazal mechavero kevutzat temarim hadevukim yachad. V'yesh bekavutza zu chamishim tmarim. So the Gemara gives the following case. A person stole from his friend a group of figs pressed against each other. And this cake of figs has 50 dates. Okay, that's typically, they would, dates. I'm sorry, it's dates. These are dates. Umisha kona et kol hatmarim biyachad mishalim arboim v'teisha prutas. So when you buy 50 dates pressed together, you pay 49 prutas. Avolim kona echas mishalim chamishim. But if you buy each one separately, each date is 1 pruta. Al kain, so the guy steals 50 of these dates pressed together. So the question is, how much does he have to pay? Al kain dana hagemara sham kama yishalim gazlan shegazel es kol atmorim yachad, chamishim or arboim v'teisha. So the Gemara asks, how much does the gazlan pay? 50 or 49?
But we had a similar thing previously where the person had used the bus ticket that they got. They bought a pass, they got the bus ticket cheaper than if they bought single ticket.
Right. So the question was, my friend let me use his bus pass, right? And so but I have to pay him back. So how much do I have to pay him back?
The value of the pass, or the value of if I had to pay for one individual ticket.
That's right. That's right. I don't remember. What did we end up saying? I don't even remember.
I think we ended up, I think, with a little bit of a machloket as to whether you paid you repaid him just what he lost, or whether you had paid the cost of the ticket.
Okay, well, what's the argument for 49 and what's the argument for 50?
Well, 50 would be a punishment also, or below the knas.
Well, no, it depends on whether you buy them individually or whether, like, if you had to go to the mikveh each day and pay the 5 shekels, whatever it was each day, because that was the charge, it's going to be more than 120 shekels, right? But if you pay up front, you get a deal for 120 shekels.
Well, the question you have, I think the question that you need to ask is, why does a seller provide a discount when you buy in bulk? And the answer is very simple, because he gets cash in hand up front, and that gives him buying power to be able to increase his business.
It's an incentive.
Yeah,
Well, he's also moving more product.
yeah, he's moving more product. He wants to do a favor for someone who's buying so much for him. So what is a Goslin going to say? Well, I'm doing you a favor because I stole a whole cake of figs. I could have stolen
one.
right. I haven't done you any favor to be entitled to that kind of discount.
He still stole.
Yeah.
Is there a knas? Is
Well,
there
no,
no
it's not a
punishment?
check.
So this is a gazela. So Geneva, you have to pay kefil, but nowadays we don't charge kefil. Nowadays the Beis Din doesn't assess kefil. Yeah. So yeah. Knasos only apply in the times of the temple.
This got finished one at a time. Basically, went there one time. So you should pay the one at a time fee. You pay it every year.
You're talking about the guy who went to the mikveh.
So the mikveh guy, right? We're going to get to the mikveh guy in a second. We haven't gotten to the mikveh guy yet, right?
Barry's counting his pennies over there.
I want to know what these guys are doing today. You know, like all these scenarios. What kind of people are these people today? You know, like,
You're probably davening with half of them. Yeah. These are everyday people, you know. Okay. But Omar, so what's the assessment? 50 or 49? For Omar Shmuel, dim gozel es hatmor mechavera v'lo mehektish. So Shmuel says it depends. If you steal from a private party and not from the temple, Mishali Marbo invitation. You pay 49 for the 50 dates. Vihiksha al Zerav Bibi Barabaye. Lama lo yuchal hanigzal lomar shuhuit kavein lomachram echas echas. V'haya mekabel chamishim. V'nimsa shahagazlan hifsido chamishim. So Rav Bibi challenges Shmuel and he says, but wait a minute. The victim can say, I was planning to sell these dates one at a time. It says dates. Tomorrow are dates. Yeah. They're pressed dates. They're pressed dates. So he says to him, I was planning to sell these one at a time. They're dried dates stuck together, but I was going to sell them at my retail store, just like you sell individual candies. You can buy candy in bulk or you can buy candy individual. I was planning to sell them for the higher price as individual candies. Anyway, we're going to have to hold it here and we'll continue this Amir Hashem on Monday.